good deal. All right. Go ahead, buddy. Go on.
This is always the part that I have to cut out from when we put it on YouTube. the awkward first 30 seconds that
Click, click,
everyone's
click,
listening to. Yeah.
click,
But
click.
hey, everyone. We wanted to just hit a topic that we've seen a lot in some mastermind groups, a lot on Facebook, some behind the scenes emails. And I just wanted to take today and talk about lead gen, and not from the standpoint of like what's the best lead gen and steering people away from certain types, because I think we all know that an easy button when we see it, right? So we can identify those. I don't want to get into that and call people out, but so what are you guys seeing? Like, what do you, from the lead gen side, give me kind of like the elevator pitch.
Yeah. So, we brought this up too, because I have been on a lot of these mastermind groups seeing it, and everyone has their own spin, but it's so interesting when you will see a team leader talking about lead gen as opposed to a single agent or a single agent on a team, because all three of those three types look at leads differently. Whereas a team leader, you're looking at volume, trying to teach them, hey, look, yes, sir, low-hanging fruit, great. Don't forget about your follow-ups. Or a single agent, if they're paying for their own, they're doing the low-hanging fruit, obviously, to get that quick income, but their follow-up skills might be average, a little bit better. Then you have the team agents that are strictly low-hanging fruit. Unless they're really taught well by that team leader to follow up with those, they're just straight trying to get the next deal. And as a team leader / broker, I've always struggled with that, to get them to see the overall picture. Like, look, every lead is not the same, but it can all be the same outcome depending on how much time you put into it or work you put into it. So the hardest thing is, as a broker, teaching the agents is saying, look, low-hanging fruit is going to be there. Those are going to be great. You're going to pick those up. But if you're waiting for those all the time, you're putting a ceiling on yourself. You can't have that residual where you can almost predict your income in 6 months, knowing that pipeline is followed up on correctly. That's the hardest thing for me to convey to new agents or team agents about leads. And they'll go on these mastermind groups and hear everybody, oh, this new bright, shiny object, this new object, this new thing, this new that. And it's really irrelevant, because it all boils down to that agent. And I know Phil's very handy. He's like, yep, we all know about the shiny new objects, but it all comes down to the same thing. And it is on that team leader to really train. And that's the hardest thing, in my opinion, when it comes to leads.
Yeah. So, if you've been a team leader before, or a broker owner, and you get some agents in who either are new to the business or they're just coming to your team, and whether you're using a YLOPO or KV Core or Boomtown, they all of a sudden start getting these leads, either emailed to them or texted to them, and they call them and they're like, oh, this is a lead. I've never gotten leads like this before. They call, they introduce themselves. Hey, is there anything I can do for you today? I saw you were you registered for my website, or you clicked on my link for whatever we were offering. And then the person on the other line almost always says, oh, we're just looking. And the agent either says, okay, well, just keep me in mind when you get ready, or they'll do like the worst thing ever. And they'll say, well, if you have a friend or know of anybody that's looking to buy right now, it becomes all about me, right? And so I think what we've got to always remind people is, whether you're getting leads from YouTube or from Google or from Facebook or wherever, most online leads they're just not ready to buy right now. They're going to buy at some point. It's like firewood. Like, I've got a wood burning stove at my house, and outside my house in the carport, I've got a big stack of firewood. And I don't need it all right now. I can't use it all up in one night. I mean, it'd have to be like the apocalypse coming for me to use it all in one night. But I've got firewood sitting out there so that when it gets cold, and supposed to get cold next week is what they're saying, we might throw a couple logs on there and burn them. And then next week when it gets cold again. And so I think just like what Charles was saying, as a team leader, it can be frustrating to be paying money for leads, and then your agents are making one call. And to me, like the whole, like, oh, we're just looking right now, or we're just kind of kicking the tires. That's not even an objection to me. That's like a brush off. That's like walking into the mall and you're going to buy some jeans, and you're going there specifically to buy some jeans, and they say, hey, can I help you today? And you say, no, I'm just looking, because you just don't want to talk to a salesman, right? So regardless of the lead source that's out there, the key is the follow-up. Yeah, you'll get some of that low-hanging fruit. It's great when you make that one call and you talk to them for the first time, and that day or the next day you're out showing them a house, but that's just not reality. And if you are using that as a strategy, if you speed the lead, or you got a 33 touch drip campaign system, however you're doing it, I think those of us who have been in the industry for a while have realized that those leads are just not going to convert at a high level on the first reach out. And most agents stop after 2 reach outs, even though most appointments are set between 6, 7, and 8. So, the first phone call to those leads, wherever you're getting them from, really should just be introducing yourself. And when they tell you something like, well, we're just looking right now, again, that's a brush off. You got to recognize that's a brush off. And then I would just follow that up with, well, what is it you're looking for? Are you looking for a personal residence, or are you looking for an investment property? Now you're getting some, hey, is there a particular neighborhood you're looking for? Oh, that's a great neighborhood. Would it help you if I went into the MLS and sent you a list of every house that's sold in that neighborhood in the last 90 days? You can kind of see how much they're actually selling for. Would that be a help to you? So trying to figure out a way to separate yourself from just being another, annoying salesperson. Just like when you walk into the mall and you're buying jeans, you just don't want anybody bothering you. And so these people, clicking these Facebook ads, clicking Google ads, they're looking for a house. They're not ready to buy yet. They probably will be in 6 to 12 months. Right now, they just don't really want a salesperson breathing down their neck. So you can separate yourself by being that kind of agent who starts off with value from day one. And I think that's been probably one of the number one frustrating things for me as a broker owner and a team leader, is to have agents complaining, well, these leads just stink, man. They're just, nobody's ready to buy right now. Well, the reality of it is most of them aren't ready to buy right now. And so you just got to come up with a strategy. And if you're just constantly looking for that low-hanging fruit, that slam dunk, one call and it turns into a client, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, and those people are going to buy a house from somebody else, down the road. So, Buddy's done a lot of follow-up over the years, in his previous role. So, Buddy, where have you seen people go wrong in the beginning with reaching out to these leads? Like, what should the initial call look like, and should it look different depending on your lead source?
I think you're right. I don't think all lead sources are created equal. And I do think that there's a little bit of finesse with it. So, you're going to know where you gravitate towards as an agent. I would do it with client care callers. Like, we would separate them even, because we just did hundreds, thousands of leads coming through with thousands of phone calls, per week. And you would see that certain callers would gravitate towards certain. I had one that was really good at buyers, and you're going to find this with agents too. They get a buyer call that's a duty call, and they just take it, and it's an automatic. They can get them in the office and get them either to a buyer broker or some sort of first meeting really easily. But when they talk to someone who's a web lead, they can't convert. They have a low conversion rate. So I think you got to know where you gravitate towards as an agent first, and then you have to go hunt that particular lead source. But I think you nailed it on the head, though. It's everyone always this cliche, the fortunes of the follow up, always be closing. We can spout all those things off. But I think there's a disconnect between the point that a lead comes in, and then what you do after this divide. And this divide is like, if it's not Jordan runs down the lane to Pippen to Jordan for the slam, like that's the buyer calls in, you're in the car that 20 minutes later, and you wrote a contract that night. That's not a basketball game. Not every trip up and down is going to result in that. Sometimes they're going to come down the lane. You're going to pass to the guard. The guard's going to pass to the forward. They dump it down to the center. The center's going to kick it out for a 3-pointer. Like it's just going to take a little bit of work. And I think this divide where that work starts is exactly what you said. There's a disconnect to get to the side, which is it's that slow play that accumulates multiple touches. Because, well, what does Josh say? I got to know you, like you, trust you. I think those are the 3 things. Josh Smith. That's true. Like sometimes on a call, man, imagine going to a car dealer and you walk on the car lot and you're looking in the window and you can see 5 people like, get out the car. I gotta go get a deal. You get that feeling like as a caller, like that you're out there. And so that window after you have the initial conversation, if you don't establish some sort of value on why they need you, you're just going to be every other agent they talk to on Zillow, Realtor, wherever they come from. So I think you're right. The questions are like, hey, do you have kids? Are you looking for a particular school zone? You got a dog, you need a big yard. Like, what are your needs? What are your wants? What's your dream home look like? Like you got to get them to answer some sort of question. Like, what has you out looking for homes today too? Oh, we were just driving by and saw a sign. Great. I could pretty much tell you they're not pre-approved. And that's the first sign they saw. But if they're going, hey, my wife and I, we really like this neighborhood. We've been looking here for a while. This sign popped up and we really kind of like that style house. And now I got someone who is a little more serious, right? And if I get the other caller on the line from a duty call that says, hey, I just got out of a meeting with blah, blah, blah mortgage company. We're going to shop in the 400 range. What do you got? I'm like, hey, I got a lot, buddy. Come on, come on. Like, you just know the different calls are going to come through. But when that doesn't happen and you get that initial start, you have to set it up. And that's where it's important to understand your CRM. And I know that a lot of people right now just eye rolled me electronically, because they're like, oh man, technology, like I'm scared of technology. And I'm going to tell you, like, if you have a top producer and they don't use technology, they're going to be almost 100% referral based. And they've earned that over years and years and years. I can almost guarantee that. But if you have a top producer who just got into the game, they're going to probably have some sort of minor CRM help along the way, or a leader who's helping them to grow that. Because what happens is when you can now get a lead that's not ready, and you can light touch it and light follow up, and you're not having to do that. The system's automating a text or an email out for you, and you've got it dialed into what you want to say. You're going to have better results that you didn't have to work as hard to get, right? So I think that's important. I just wanted to plug the CRM side for it. So if you've got there's some good ones out there, but we personally would use like a KV Core. And I didn't understand the full benefit of it until we really looked at the behavioral automation, the smart campaigns. You can use it for a lot of different things besides buying and selling. We found that out. We use it for agent recruiting. We do so much more with it, So I think, when you're looking at the life cycle of a lead, there has to be a certain level of patience and automation in your bucket, right? So you got a tool belt, you got multiple tools, and you got the hammer, which is the quick sell, but you need the screwdriver, that's the long sell, and you got to incorporate those into what you're doing.
And just two, there's so many more leads nowadays than there was 5-10 years ago. I remember right when I started my team, and I'd always try to give them 20 or so to really help. Those were the figures. Now we have some month where an agent is getting 60, 70, 80, and it's nothing that we can really regulate because we're just getting so activity. Our market was so hot that we almost didn't have enough agents. So they're getting flooded. So it's also bad because it teaches them bad habits. Turn and burn, which if you're a solo agent, to me, that's okay because that's your money, doing whatever, you can crank it up, scale it up. But when you're on a team level, it's a little bit different than if you just given all your agents 80 leads. I always joke and I said, hey, they're just taking a bunch of crap, throwing it on the wall. Whichever one kind of stays far enough, then they grab those and go and work them. And I said, okay, yeah, but you're going to miss out on all the other stuff that falls.
How many times have you heard you're in a one-on-one coaching and your agent will turn around and say, you just give me bad leads? That's the most frustrating comment that I hear. It's like, they're not bad leads. Like, they're just not immediate gratification. Basically, you went through the McDonald's drive-through and they took 20 seconds longer to get your order and you're mad, because it's not a convenience sale. So,
yeah, I call it they're just spoiled nowadays because I wish when I was coming up that I could just generate that many so easily, leads for $1 and all that stuff. It would have been nuts. But so now I feel like a lot of agents will join a team and they really get spoiled because they're
spoiled. But man, when I was in client care and I sat down the first day at the desk, they were like, okay, hey, welcome to the team. By the way, the other two people called out. So just try to do your best answering a call. I'm like, okay, well, how do I do? They're like, oh, you just look at this big sheet of numbers and just start dialing with your phone. You'll get somebody on there. I'm like, I got to hand dial all this too. It's like, do you want me to get a stone and chisel and write the leads down? I was like, what are we doing here, man? And I had to call like 125 a day. I had to physically pick up a phone and dial every single number. And I see people nowadays that have like automatic dialers and leads just raining out of them. I'm like, man, do you know how big I would feast if this was like 15 years ago?
Oh, all the calls, all these live connect call centers now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And we use them, but I know that it's awesome. And I know I'll have a brand new agent and they get that live connect and they're showing the next day. I'm like, dang it. Like, I'm so happy for them, but I know, like, trust me, every lead is not like this, but they start to get that mentality that, ooh, let's just wait for that live connect. Let's wait for our client care to give us a set appointment. And I get it. It's really good to get agents fast track, but I think sometimes we try to regulate it because it hurts them in the long run because they never really focus on following up with their past clients. And you can see that if you have a good agent and they're always just doing like 2 or 3 deals a month and they don't get over that hump, but they're like, man, they're working hard. To me, I can tell right away, like, they're just chasing that low-hanging fruit. That's all they're doing.
But there's also some, I laugh because, it's like I walked school uphill both ways kind of comment, and it like sound like our parents or grandparents, but, you also have more stories that, what's the girl's name, Phil? Ashley, right, on your team. Like she comes in, I'm like in tears. Like after we were on the call talking, I hung up and my eyes got teary just thinking about the fact that, with what you have today and the lead sources that are available, you can take someone who closes 9 homes in 1 month and it changes their life. In 1 month. And that's what's available. Like Ashley would have been a superstar 5-10 years ago because she's just got it in her to hustle. But because she's got that in her, like she has a month with 9 sales because she maximizes that technology, maximizes sphere of influence, has a leader, a team. Like as a broker, Phil, you got to be I couldn't imagine, man, how great that feels to empower her,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, one great thing about her was because she had no real estate or sales experience before. She came into this and was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do, like no fear, like messed up a ton, had some pretty big mistakes in the beginning. When I say big, just missing little things here and there, like all new agents.
Like depositing an EMD to her account, nothing big.
Yeah,
just
little
stuff. I'm kidding. That didn't happen.
Yeah. Nothing with earnest money if the real estate commission is listening.
Yeah.
Real estate agents, new ones, they mess up. But she just never let any of that stuff hold her back, And I think as been training, new agents or even, agents from other companies, been at this game for a little over 2 years now. So many agents just give up so easily on that first initial brush off. They're talking to somebody who they got on a squeeze page. They reach out to them. Yeah, we're just looking. They just give up, So there's a couple things that you can do there. You can put in an icebreaker. We talked about this Monday, like the easiest icebreaker ever is to talk about the weather. So instead of just calling, hey, this is Phil with First Class, saw that you registered on my website. What if you start with, hey, this is Phil with First Class, just reaching out to you today, trying to stay dry in this monsoon we got coming through right now. What about you, or just trying to stay warm today on this cold winter day, So just trying to make it a little bit personable and really just having a little bit of guts to stay in the call and really kind of get through that initial brush off. So I would say if you don't hear anything else as a team leader or a broker owner, listen to this, if you're paying for leads, I would imagine that quite a bit of those leads are getting shut down because your agents are not able to get through that initial brush off. And they don't really understand what that follow-up sequence could look like. So you might start off with something simple, like what's worked for me for years is if I had an online lead, they weren't ready to buy or sell right now, hey, I'm just going to throw them on my weekly email newsletter every Monday. They're going to get an email from me, and then I was going to go in my CRM, and every 90 days, I was going to set a reminder just to reach out to them, see if their timeline changed.
Not only that, but just simple things that take seconds, like setting a reminder to go to their Facebook and just click like on something or comment, because that's an easy way to start building confidence to talk to somebody, right? So like getting just simple, easy steps in there, set a reminder and be intentional about it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to do, I know some agents get overwhelmed by some of the drip campaigns that are in some of these CRMs out there, and you feel like you're bugging people, and hey, maybe you are, I don't know. But you got to have some kind of follow-up sequence. You can't just talk to people one time, and if they convert, they're awesome leads, and if they don't convert, they're terrible leads.
Well, the mindset is that we are that call center calling to check on your extended warranty, and we're not trying to sell you a thing or a gadget or something like that, like we can really solve your biggest problem with home buying or home selling. And I'm not talking about we as a company, us. I'm talking about as agents and team leaders and brokers all over the country. Like we have the power to help someone who has an issue, which is finding or selling their house. And when you turn that mindset around and you get out of the fact that we're telemarketers and that sort of stuff, like you're going to find more success because your confidence level starts to jump up.
Yep.
You
Absolutely. Yep. You got to know what your value is and that you actually do bring value to the table. So that's part of your job as a team leader as well, is to make sure your agents know, hey, we can bring value to these people. You know, not every agent in town is going to call them back. Not every agent is going to give them the truth about what their house is worth. Some agents are going to tell them it's worth $30,000 more just to get the listing, and we're just going to tell them what the truth is. You know, we're not going to tell them
That's right.
what to expect in the market and what they need to do to get their house ready for showings. And let's just be honest and let's be the experts. So I think there's a lot of things that go into that. But if you're a team leader and you're a broker or a broker owner and you're listening to this and you've had people on your team or in your brokerage complaining about leads, you know, instead of just brushing that off and just saying, well, you know, just get out of my office, you know, I'm paying money for leads. Maybe you need to sit down and do some training on what follow-up should look like. Because even though that was pretty common sense to me, I've been doing it for a while, we're finding that a lot of our newer agents or agents who were at other companies that transferred over to us just never got that kind of training. And so they've really just kind of done their whole real estate career of calling lead one time. If it doesn't convert, I don't talk to them anymore. So, you know, you're leaving a lot of money on the table as a broker owner or a team leader by not letting your folks understand, you know, that follow-up is important, how to do follow-up, and that most leads aren't going to convert on the very first call.
And to caveat off that too, what I've found too is if you're a team leader broker and you bring agent on and they've never used a CRM before, you're like, perfect. This is where all your leads are going to go. Work out of that. Go get it. And if they don't even have proper training of that, that's just as bad as not giving them anything, because it's going to be intimidating, or they're not going to really learn how to use it. Because once you get an agent to really learn how to CRM, you can tell when you do like a pipeline review with them, they know every single, what's going on with all these buyers. The ones you'll sit down, all right, let's do your pipeline review. And I'm like, all right, what's up with this lead? Hold on, let me go. Like they're not categorized. They're not, you can just tell. And it's such a struggle for them because they want to get organized, but they just don't know how.
And not to be the best data entry specialist people ever, but just to keep the basic information so you know what's going on with the lead. Like you don't got to write details and transcribe complete conversations, but you should know the highlights. And that's what the CRM is great for. It's just a reminder, you know. And if you have a good one and you dial through it to contact someone, it's going to record your call. And how many times do you want to go back and say, I actually told you that? And, you know, now you have a call where you did that. But so anyway, well, we've gone a little bit over time. I just wanted to say that there's a couple of things on the leads to wrap up. One, if you're not tracking your ROI on your leads, start doing that immediately. Like whatever you do, start tracking it so you know when to turn a lead off and when to put money towards a better performing one. You're not only going to drive profit to your bottom line, but you're going to know like what are your easy buttons that aren't working and what are your good lead sources. And then two, fight the objections from your agents when they say bad leads. And then show them if you have a good system that also allows you some management insight, you're going to want to be able to pull up and support what you're telling your agent in your one-on-ones with some detailed information like, look, the average conversion rate is 8% that go to appointments from this lead source, and you're at 4%. It's not that they're bad leads. How can I help you? What questions are you asking? You're going to want to dig in that detail. So anything else you guys want to add at the end?
If you do jump around with different lead sources, my advice is give it at least 6 months. I'll hear all the time, I tried them and it sucked. Well, how long did you use them for? Just 30 days. I'm like, how can you really get a good outlook on what your conversion rate is going to be after just 30 days? So if you are looking to lead gen for masses, when I say masses, other individuals on your team, don't just go and try to find the fly-by-night stuff because you end up wasting money. You got to really just drive one in, see if that's what you do, and go from there. I've learned that the hard way. I've always been a guy that likes the new shiny stuff, and it'll end up costing you a lot more than it's worth.
All right, guys, I appreciate it. And I think next week we actually have a mortgage lender, a senior loan officer that's in Virginia to come on. So we're going to have some interesting questions for him and a look at partnerships and agreements and how you can better partner with a lender and what's available. So we're looking forward to next week, and we'll see you all.
Good one. See ya.
See ya.